Before we begin the video, as you are aware, this is the final video of Season 2, and going forward we will be live streaming every episode of Hitman Season 3, so make sure you're following me on Twitch to stay up to date for when we go live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. In today's video we'll be completing Hitman 2's 8th and final mission of Season 2, The Last Resort. On Master difficulty with suit only, Silent Assassin fully intact, the entire HUD turned off with no cuts and no saves. The mission is quite simply to eliminate all 3 targets, and the video will be broken down into 2 stages. The first stage is the plan. This is where I'll be scoping out the level, finding paths and secret passageways, picking up intel and making lots and lots of mistakes. The second stage is the execution. This is where all HUD options will be turned off, and I'll carry out the plan that was designed in stage 1. As always, the loadout for the mission will be the original starting location, 47 signature suits, the ICA gold baller, the lockpick MK3 and 3 coins. Welcome to Supercut, the series where we take an entire Let's Play and condense it into one video. My name is Mr. Supercut, and this is the planning stage of Hitman 2's The Last Resort. As you are aware by now, Run 1 is all about gathering intel to make our lives easier in the long run. I began the mission like a Taiwanese family fresh off the boat, and immediately came face to face with the first target, the lady target. She told me to go pick up my key from reception and head to my private hut, as she left a note on my bed. After reading the note, which literally just said call this number, I headed outside and took a dip in the pool and looked across to the next hut to find the lady target and Jason Portman, who we know from Hokkaido, engaged in conversation. I headed back inside, called the number, and the lady target told me to meet her over at the restaurant. I headed over to the restaurant and met the lady target, who told me she had a proposition for me. Somebody had stolen a USB drive from Tyson's Island villa containing a ton of incriminating personal information of Ludmila Petrova. She offered me a 50% discount on my island stay if I could find and extract the USB drive. I accepted and then headed toward the villa, and was of course denied entry by none other than Vaz from Far Cry 3. I picked up a hammer near some scaffolding and then headed round the outside along the south beach, destroyed a camera, picked the lock to a scary looking door, and then found an easier route into the compound over a wall. However, I carried further along the beach and found a scientist cooking some burgers. I climbed onto the jetty and picked up a wrench, and after concluding I couldn't progress any further, I headed over the wall, knocked out the nearby maid, dragged her into the bushes, and then found a bird cage but couldn't figure out what to do with it. I headed back over the wall and knocked out the 2 scientists, hiding both of their bodies on the jetty, and then picked up a keycard off the table. I then headed in through the French doors and knocked out the 2 members of staff, dumped the dude's body, and whilst doing so, the dudette's body got spotted. But I couldn't for the life of me figure out who had spotted her until a guard manifested in the doorway. Regardless, I knocked him out and stole his uniform, took out some guards, and then got taken out myself, so hit restart. In Run 2, I did the same thing as last time, spoke with Petrova, picked up my key, found the note and dialed the number, met her at the restaurant and got the intel, headed to the villa and picked up the wrench from the jetty, jumped over the wall and then saved the game. I knocked out the maid and dumped her body, headed up the stairs but couldn't figure out how to get past the 2 maids at the top, so headed back down and in through the door that I'd been spotted in last time. I knocked out the 2 members of staff and this time dragged the lady first to ensure her body didn't get spotted, dumped her and then did the same for the dude. I then headed through the property but couldn't find a way through without getting spotted by a guard, headed back outside and upon standing up next to the bird cage caused the birds to go berserk age. This distracted the scientist away from his grill, and then I moved a little bit further along the compound, hiding in the bushes, shooting cameras and keeping out of sight of the guards. After a while of snooping, I accidentally came across a hidden keycard reader. I distracted the scientist again using the bird and then knocked him out and dumped his body in the bushes, and then headed around the outside, knocked out the other scientist, picked up the keycard off the table and then dumped her body on the jetty. I headed back toward the keycard reader, and after swiping the card, a nearby hatch popped up and I slid down the ladder and entered into an underground server room. Whilst hiding behind a lockbox, I overheard a scientist leaving a voicemail to Petrova telling her that the USB stick she'd stolen at Petrova's request was currently hidden in her locker and wanted Petrova to come and get it. I headed around the outskirts of the server room and made my way to the other side just in time to find the scientist heading into the locker room, and as I went to follow, I caused a nearby guard to become suspicious. I ducked into the bathroom, and whilst attempting to choke him out, I got spotted spotted, again by who I don't know. So with that I hit reload. In run 3, when knocking out the sitting scientist, her body was immediately spotted, so I knocked out the approaching guard, which caused the staff to become suspicious, so hit reload. In run 4, I climbed over the wall and knocked out the 2 scientists from behind and then picked up the keycard. Unfortunately, the dude got spotted, again by a ghost apparently, and then a guard materialised and woke him up. I headed back into the compound and down the hatch and then headed up the nearby staircase, taking me into a control room occupied by 3 nerds. I knocked one of them out and then headed to the upper platform and then spotted a surveillance system in the middle of the room, so destroyed it with my gold baller. I picked up a screwdriver, then headed back toward the control room and knocked out the 2 remaining nerds, and then found a ventilation system which could be poisoned, just like the bank in New York. I headed up the stairs and came into a security room complete with a surveillance system that I could view live footage for, which didn't make any sense considering I'd just destroyed the surveillance system, but there we are. After a while I picked the lock to a nearby medical lockbox and found a bottle of lethal pills, which seemed like the opposite of what you'd want to find in a medical lockbox, then headed back down the stairs. I climbed the hatch on the opposite side of where I'd entered and came out near a small beach area still within the compound. I found a glass bottle which I blew up and found a piece of treasure map inside, of course being absolutely irrelevant to me. I headed back to the server room determined to attempt to locate this USB drive and headed into the locker room only to be discovered immediately by a guard polishing his shoes. I knocked him out with a crowbar to the head and dumped his body just as the scientist entered the room and spotted the guard's gun on the floor. I quickly picked the lock to the locker assuming the scientist had left, but she hadn't, so I had to take her out as well. Eventually everyone became alerted and took me out, so I hit reload. In run 5 I picked up the wrench and keycard, headed into the server room and then headed into the nearby bathroom, thankfully without alerting anybody. I waited for the scientist to leave the locker room, then headed through, knocked out the polishing guard, which according to the map alerted a nearby guard, dumped his body in the locker and then climbed in with him just in time to see the guard enter and exit. I watched the scientist mull over the USB drive that she'd stolen, and once she'd left I picked the lock to a locker and nabbed the drive for myself. I wanted to see what would happen when she realised the drive was missing, so climbed back in the locker and then watched her have a minor freak out, and after that managed to sneak out the way I'd entered without any issues. I headed all the way back to my hut and called Vetrova again to inform her I'd found the USB drive, and she told me to meet her in the spa area. I read the map near the entrance to find out where I was going and then checked in via the front desk of the spa. I headed on through and Vetrova was waiting for me where she, for some reason, had slightly changed her outfit. I handed over the USB drive and she began to confide in me all of her woes and issues. After offloading onto me, I onloaded onto her and snapped her neck and dumped her body over the railing. I then headed out of the spa to attempt to take on the second target, Stephen Bradley. I watched him enter through a nearby door which led into the scuba gear rental shop, where he moaned to the owner that he wanted to drive the jet ski and wasn't allowed, and then I followed him out. I headed into the nearby medical bay and picked up a stethoscope to use as a makeshift wire, and then roamed about the entire island, eventually finding myself in Jason Portman's hut. I took him out whilst he was on the phone and unfortunately got spotted, so snapped his neck for the inconvenience and then got taken out, so hit restart. In run 6 I headed straight for Bradley to find out what his general plan of action was, and found that he crossed a bridge to a small secluded island where he began racing one of the guards. I destroyed the camera above the bridge and crossed over and then followed Bradley after he'd finished the race and entered into his little shack. I unfortunately got spotted by somebody, so ran over to Bradley and shot him dead, and then failed spectacularly when attempting to take out the nearby guard. After that I hit restart. In run 7 I headed back over to the island without Mr. Bradley and found a key to the jet ski he so desperately wanted to ride hidden beneath the hut. I had no idea how to go about giving him the keys, and so just shot him whilst he ran past to see if I could do it without anyone noticing. For a moment it seemed the case, as the guard nearby didn't realise Mr. Bradley had died, but then I got taken out by someone else, so hit restart. In run 8 I headed back to the island, got spotted and escorted out, then headed back over without getting spotted, climbed onto the platform, knocked out the waiter, and unfortunately got spotted by some random guy, so chucked a banana at his head, forgetting that thrown food doesn't actually knock people out, so he stood back up and ran away. I then began taking everyone out, got taken out, so hit restart. In run 9 I headed over to the private island hut, but got spotted very quickly, and after picking up a shotgun and blasting some civilians I got taken out, so hit restart. In run 10 I called Vetrova, beat her to the meetup point, headed to the villa, and then tried using the water to distract the sitting scientist, but got the timings wrong, got spotted, knocked them both out with a wet fish, and then hit restart. In run 11 I headed back to the villa and picked up the key card, this time before calling Vetrova and discussing the plan with her. I headed underground and knocked out the polishing guard in the locker room, but didn't have time to actually hide the body. After a while, everything went back to normal and he returned to polishing his shoes, and as I stepped out of the locker, nothing happened. He didn't look up, he wasn't suspicious, nothing. Which was great because it meant I didn't need to worry about him at all when picking up the USB drive. I then headed to the upper platform to shoot out the surveillance system and then save the game before heading back down the stairs, as I wanted to see what file was currently sat on the desk next to the surveillance system. I picked it up, got spotted, killed the guard with a screwdriver, killed these scientists with a screwdriver, unplugged a section of the server, killed another scientist, unplugged another part of the server, killed a guard, killed a scientist, unplugged another part of the server, and then unplugged the final part of the server, but unfortunately by this point I had the entire army on my tail, so hit reload. In run 12 I headed down the stairs and knocked out the guard and stole his outfit, knocked out the scientist and then unplugged the server again and knocked out the investigating scientist. I hid the bodies but not well enough, as another scientist spotted them sprawled out across the floor, so I knocked her out too, and then as I began carting her off I got spotted by a fellow guard. I shot everyone and unplugged all the servers, which caused all 3 targets to run as quickly as possible toward the server room. I met Mr. Bradley in the stairwell first, followed by Tyson Williams and finally Miss Petrova. Whilst this made sense to take them all out together, there was no way I was going to be able to pull it off with the suit only and Silent Assassin fully intact. Regardless, I headed out, watched as the stormy weather rolled in, stole a dinghy and dinghied off into the sunset. 0 stars, 14 minutes and 51 seconds and 0 points. I ranked so poorly in the leaderboard they actually didn't include me with anyone else. I was number 5,885 out of 5,884 people. Truly in a league of my own. After this, I hit reload. In run 13, I headed through the control room, but it went poorly, so I hit reload. In run 14, I knocked the 3 of them out and then found a phone I could use to call Petrova. As this was the first phone call, she asked to meet me at the restaurant, but I hadn't finished here yet. I headed up the stairs, picked up the lethal pills and managed to distract a nearby guard into the room, but because it was all getting a bit messy, I hit reload. In run 15, I knocked out the nerds and called Petrova, took out a guard and scientist and then hit restart. In run 16, I called Petrova and then hung up mid-conversation to see if she would still head to the restaurant or if she would carry on toward Jason Portman's hut. She carried on toward Portman's hut, so I shot her dead and hit restart. In run 17, I called Petrova and then ran past the restaurant and straight for the villa to see if I could get the USB drive before meeting with her. When in the server room, I saved the game to see if I could at least try and unplug the 4 server parts without being spotted. I managed to, but unfortunately that was it, so hit reload. In run 18, I picked up the USB drive without any issues, climbed the stairs to the upper platform, picked up a crowbar from a nearby side room, and then upon leaving, I got spotted by a camera, so hit reload. In run 19, I picked up the drive and then shot the surveillance system and then spotted the air vent blowing air into the server room. I crept through the control room, knocked out the first scientist, knocked out the next 2 scientists and then headed up the stairs, picked up the lethal pills to see what would happen if I dumped them into the air vents. But not before heading up another set of stairs and getting spotted by yet another scientist on the beach. I knocked him out and that was that. I quickly headed back down, poisoned the vent and watched as absolute mayhem unfolded. It felt like that scene at the end of Fight Club. With that, I hit restart. In run 20, I called Petrova and then went and picked up a poisonous flower to use as poison instead of the lethal pills. After picking up the keycard at the villa, I headed up the stairs and eavesdropped on the maids talking about Tyson's illness, and then found that one of them moved along, meaning I could definitely sneak past them, but I'd have to wait for them to finish their conversation every time. In the server room, I destroyed the surveillance system and then picked up the USB drive, headed back outside, and then climbed the stairs to the property to see what I could see. I headed into what appeared to be Tyson's bedroom and found that I could poison his medicine, so I popped the flower into it and then lie in wait to see if Tyson came to swallow the pills. After a long time of waiting and watching Tyson walk around the top floor of his villa, I overheard downstairs that a doctor had arrived to speak with Tyson about his illness and to check up on him. I hid behind the wall as the butler showed him in, but unfortunately the butler spotted me, so I had to take him and the doctor out. I dumped both of their bodies in the nearby wardrobe and then watched as Tyson entered into the bedroom as well. He sat down at the foot of the bed and so I shot him in the head. It kind of looked like he was just sort of chilling, and I thought about leaving him there for a moment as it didn't look like he was dead at all. However, sense took over and I dragged him into the closet area and then shot his guard and then hit restart. In run 21, after picking up the key card, I hopped the wall to the villa and climbed the stairs to trigger the maid's conversation before heading back down toward the server room. Unfortunately, I got spotted running through the control room, so shot the scientists and hit restart. In run 22, after calling Petrova and triggering the maids, I headed into the server room and up the stairs, picked up the lethal pills, nabbed the USB drive, headed up the stairs of the villa and managed to sneak past the two maids, coming unbelievably close to one of them. I poisoned the medicine and then hopped back over the wall and found that Petrova wasn't actually at the restaurant waiting for me, so I found a phone in order to call her, but it wouldn't give me the option. It seemed that if I called Petrova first but then took too long to meet her at the restaurant, she'd leave and then I wouldn't have the opportunity to do it again. I found Petrova cheating on me with Portman and decided to follow her to see if she eventually ended up at the restaurant, which she did, but not the area that I wanted her to be in. Unfortunately, there was no way around this problem, so I shot her dead, got taken out and hit restart. In run 23, I decided not to call her and just headed straight for the villa, and whilst climbing the stairs to take out the surveillance system, I got spotted by a scientist, so shot her dead and hit restart. In run 24, when heading through the control room to pick up the lethal pills upstairs, I got spotted by a scientist, so shot all three of them. Nabbed the pills, headed back downstairs, nabbed the USB drive, headed upstairs, poisoned Tyson's medicine, climbed the railing and found that I got stuck, so climbed back up and unfortunately got spotted by the maid, so shot her dead, shot her mate, and then hit restart. In run 25, everything went according to plan and I was able to retrieve the pills and poison Tyson's medicine without any issues. I then called Petrova from a nearby phone and then met her at the restaurant. After our meeting, I headed back to the phone and called her again, annoyed that 47 didn't just tell her during that meeting that he'd already nabbed the USB drive, and then headed over to the spa to meet Petrova there. Funny, because there's no way 47 would have been able to meet Petrova and then steal the USB drive within 20 seconds of calling her, so she would have known that when they met he already had the drive on him and chose to wait until after the meeting to call her and let her know he had the item. Very silly, but there we go. At the spa, I handed over the drive, listened to Petrova moan about this and that, and then as she left she offered me a free massage, which I accepted. I also found that at the same time Tyson was eliminated, which I'd forgotten about entirely. Whilst having my massage, I overheard Petrova saying she needed to get access to Portman's laptop but needed him out of his hut first, and after that the plan, whatever that was, would be ready. I carried on with my massage for a while and then realised that that was as far as things were going to go until I had taken care of Portman. I headed underneath his hut and picked up a starfish and then saved the game. I climbed onto his hut and dragged him off the edge by his speedos, which apparently killed him. I then hit reload as I didn't actually want to kill Portman. In run 26, I ran the sink to distract him, but instead his mate came to investigate instead. I climbed out of the basket, which he saw in the mirror, and then I launched a starfish at his head, which was apparently lethal. As I began dragging him down the hatch, Portman spotted me and managed to get away, so I hit reload. In run 27, after determining no sinks, I hid behind the door and waited for him to finish his conversation, and unfortunately, when choking him out, I got spotted, so hit reload. In run 28, I waited for him to enter fully into the bathroom to knock him out, but forgot I had the lethal starfish equipped, which sliced his neck, so hit reload. In run 29, I made sure I had no items equipped, choked him out and dumped his body, and then fled the area. I then found Petrova, who took a phone call and was told that Portman had left the building. I followed her to Portman's hut, where she hacked into his computer and then made another phone call asking whoever she was speaking to meet her at the spa. I ran to the spa to find out who this elusive character was, but not before getting another massage, and then using my instinct found that the character was none other than Mr. Bradley. After they met, they climbed into the nearby hot tub, I climbed over the railings, and then drowned them both. As I left, both bodies were found, but fortunately, as it looked like an accident, it didn't affect my silent assassin run. I stole the dinghy and dinghied off into the sunset. 5 stars and 27 minutes. Obviously, the mission was completed, but 27 minutes would make it the longest no HUD run on the channel so far, and I wasn't sure that this level warranted such an obscene amount of time, so I hit restart. In run 30, I decided to head to Portman's hut first before doing anything else, and found Petrova got there the same time as me, meaning I'd need to distract Petrova before taking out Portman, so I could take out Portman without distraction, so hit restart. In run 31, I called Petrova first, meaning she would skip Portman and head straight for the restaurant. I then headed to Portman's hut to take him out. I launched a fire extinguisher at his head while he sunbathed and got immediately spotted, so hit restart. In run 32, I flooded the sink in the bathroom, causing Portman's mate to investigate. I knocked him out and dumped his body and decided to just leave the tap running. Portman then investigated and I was able to knock him out as well. I dumped his body, headed for the restaurant, and then carried out the usual plan, getting to the spa before Petrova, and so sat on my throne waiting for the peasant to arrive. Eventually, she graced me with her presence. I handed over the drive, and this time she didn't need to go to Portman's hut because she'd already been whilst I was retrieving the drive and murdering Tyson. She called Mr. Bradley, they jumped into the hot tub, I drowned them both, and then dinghied off into the sunset. That was a lot faster than 27 minutes, and I was happy with what I had achieved. So, after 32 runs, it was time to turn all the HUD options off and attempt the mission for the final time. So, without further ado, I present to you my no HUD, suit only, silent assassin, master difficulty run of The Last Resort.
Miss Petrova, it's Tobias Reaper. I read your note.
Excellent. I reviewed your file prior to your arrival, and I found it very intriguing. I have an offer for you. If you're interested, you can find me over at the restaurant.
I'll keep it in mind.
Wonderful. I hope to see you there.
Always making the fire burn. What's so important about supporting us?
Wow.
Mr. Reaper, so good to see you.
You mentioned an offer.
Yes, it's a little embarrassing, but we've had an incident. A theft. The thief is an employee here, a person working in Mr. Williams's villa at the other end of the island.
What was stolen?
A USB drive containing some sensitive information. Personal information, which I would rather not fall into the hands of others. So, my offer is this. Obtain the USB drive from the thief without alerting anyone at the villa. The thief is likely still there. I can't get you inside, so you'll have to use that particular skill set of yours to gain access. Do that, and I'll convince Mr. Williams to give you a 50% discount on our service fee. That's $1 million, Mr. Reaper.
A generous offer. The information must be valuable.
Mostly to me. It's very personal. Please call me as soon as you've recovered it.
Very well. I'll call you.
to blisters when I'm out in the sun. It's a rare skin disease.
Well, then damn. I wonder what's on TV tonight.
Oh, it's good to be out in the sun. Huh? Really sad to see Mr. Williams go in. He keeps complaining about that fight. He can't even go out in the sunlight anymore. You know what I heard? That doctor of his mentioned something about some old disease Mr. Williams once suffered from. Said it had likely left like the scars on his body, or like scars on his brain.
Voicemail again? Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Miss
Everything's
Petrova.
good.
Just leaving a message. It's me. I have the item you asked for. Or, I mean, it's not on me, of course. It's in my locker. Anyways, please come by the villa and pick it up. I really don't feel comfortable with this. If Mr. Williams discovers that I've well, please just come and get it.
I haven't seen him. He's okay.
All I know is that his fever hasn't gone down.
Awesome. I hope he's back this week.
Well, we're all here for a reason.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. It's all
Miss Petrova, I've acquired the item you wanted.
Wonderful. I knew you were the right man for the job. I could feel it the moment I laid my eyes on you.
Should we meet?
Yes, absolutely. Come to the spa over by the pool area.
Well, thank you. That's so sweet.
Holler if you need anything.
I'm Mr. Reaper. I have an appointment.
Ah, yes, Mr. Reaper. You can go right in. Miss Petrova should be here shortly. Have a nice time.
Ah, Mr. Reaper. So good to see you again. Follow me, please. You, leave us. You have the item with you. Can I have it, please?
Here you are.
Ah, thank you so much, Mr. Reaper. I can't tell you how much this means to me, Mr. Reaper. I'm afraid things aren't quite as serene here as they may seem on the surface.
I'm slowly beginning to understand that.
Tyson, Mr. Williams, he's not well. Hasn't been for some time. We used to be together, but his illness... I couldn't take it anymore. I don't know why I'm telling you this. He monitors my every move. I think he asked that girl to steal my information because he wants to... I don't know. Punish me? Kill me? Who knows anymore?
Sounds hard.
You have no idea. I sometimes wish he'd just disappear, you know? Vanish from the face of the planet. And then I'd be free. Anyway, I shouldn't bore you with my personal problems. You've been very helpful, and I will honor my promise and make sure that you get the discount. Perhaps we'll see each other at dinner one of these nights. One-on-one, maybe.
One-on-one sounds ideal.
Excellent. Well, if you'll excuse me, I have a few calls I need to make. Good day to you, Mr. Reaper. Oh, I almost forgot. If you'd like a massage, the room's available. Just lie down and someone will be with you shortly. Goodbye, Mr. Reaper.
Tyson Williams eliminated. Excellent work, 47.
Everything we need. Tyson's
2 targets remaining.
now, and Holtman's computer is breached.
Ooh, I can feel your muscles are very tense, but
Now,
just relax.
we talk.
We'll have you fresh
Come to the
again in no
spa.
time.
All right, I'm here. Let's talk.
I think we'd do well to engage in a bit of privacy. Follow me to the hot tubs. You, leave us.
So, you wanted to talk?
We have to expedite our plans. Tonight. It has to be tonight.
What? Why?
Stephen, we need to leave. I've never seen Tyson this paranoid. He's monitoring my every move now. It's just a matter of time before he finds out about us.
So, that's Stephen Bradley taken care of. Well done. Just one more target to go. Good work, 47. Ludmila Vetrova has been permanently retired. That's all we need to do from here. Miss Hall should be able to extract the information needed from the Haven servers.
Honestly, Charles.
Good work, 47.
Thank you so very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then do be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all future episodes. Like I said at the beginning, make sure to follow me over on Twitch where we'll be live streaming Season 3. I will catch you in the next video ready to take on 47's first mission of Season 3, high above the clouds in Dubai. Bye bye.